Sipping on my Joker energy. All right, guys. So, what's up? We're here with DJC Combat Live. And late this past week, there's been a lot of crazy fight announcements, particularly three in the middleweight division. Whitaker is back. He finally has a fight taking on Dricus du Plessis in a title eliminator to see who fights Israel Adesanya. And Strickland is kind of fighting a no-name Russian dude who's apparently supposed to be dangerous, but he only has one fight, one win in the UFC, and lost one fight ago before his UFC debut. And then Cannonier is taking on Vittori, which I think that's actually a very interesting fight. Also, I watched WMMA Addict's recent video about Rose declining Xianon. I got to get into that. And then I also rewatched Nunes versus Peña 2 to prepare for this trilogy. And I've just done some thinking, and I'm just wondering, does Juliana Peña have a chance? We're gonna get into that. Her chances in this upcoming trilogy with Amanda Nunes, but also UFC 290 is looking hella stacked right now. I mean, Lawler versus Nico Price just got announced. Of course, Whitaker du Plessis is the feature fight. We already got Moreno Pantoja, Kate versus Figueiredo, and then we got other stuff like what else? Volkanovski versus Yair. We know that's happening. But what makes me nervous about UFC 290 being overstacked? And Hooker Turner is back on. What makes me nervous about this card being overstacked is the fact that usually when a card is that good, that many good fights are on there, the universe be like, you can't have it all. And a lot of fights end up getting canceled. So it won't surprise me if some of these fights do get called off as a sacrifice from the MMA gods, but we shall see. But I just want to talk about Nunes versus Peña 3. Does Peña have a chance? What can Juliana Peña do? She already pulled off a miracle in the first fight with Amanda Nunes. That was amazing. She caught Nunes on a bit of an off night, but she just also had the element of surprise. Nunes took her lightly the first time, got too comfortable in her reign of dominance, and thought, man, Peña's got nothing for me. I just got to show up and I'm going to win. I don't think she was aware of the danger that was there the first time. We saw how that ended, but then, look what happened in the rematch. We saw Nunes come back more prepared. She changed up her stance, and she went from, her usual striking style, which is like a 1-2 straight teep kick, oblique kick, to then now actually going southpaw and countering with that right check hook, and that completely threw Juliana off her game. But you got to think, going forward into this third fight, Juliana is going to be ready for that. She's going to be prepared for Nunes to fight in either stance. And Juliana said, hey, sorry, I'm just getting my water bottle. Juliana Peña said, hey, Nunes, you can come in southpaw orthodox. You can walk in on your two hands or whatever she said. But I'm going to be prepared for whatever you got. No more surprises. And that's true. In this trilogy, there will be no more surprises. I think both women know what to expect from each other. I think the element of surprise on either side is gone. But I just think the major difference between Nunes and Peña, which won Nunes the rematch, is that Amanda is just more tricky and she's more adaptable. You know what I mean? She's way better at game planning and figuring her opponents out. Juliana Peña came in that second fight without a plan, and she was completely lost and just went in on grit and toughness, heart alone. But Nunes was just a far more skillful fighter. So what is going to happen in this fight? The path to victory for Juliana Peña in that first fight was to weather the early storm, get Nunes tired, break her down, maul her, and then from there, take over. And that's usually how Juliana Peña wins a lot of her fights. That's usually what happens in a lot of her fights, is that She's tougher than you. She's got better cardio. She can outlast you. She pushes a high pace. And then she's got good grappling. She can take you down, submit you on the ground. That's what she did to Nunes. So it was no fluke. Peña won the belt in Peña style fashion. But Amanda Nunes adapted, to that style. And I don't know if that means the victory is going to work again. I mean, it could, but we saw what happened in the second fight. Juliana Peña, we dealt with the early storm of Amanda Nunes. Nunes brought that early storm, but there was no coming back from that. Like, Nunes kept that storm for 5 straight rounds, destroyed Peña on the feet in the first 2 rounds, and then switched it up and started wrestling Juliana Peña in the last 3. And Juliana just had no answer. No answer for the wrestling, was attempting subs off her back, couldn't get any submissions, and was unable to get back to her feet. So that's a major problem for Peña. She's outmatched in the wrestling. She has a chance on the feet, but Nunes is the more technical striker of the two. And Nunes can go 5 rounds if she paces herself properly, and if she's in control, she can go 5 rounds, no problem. So I don't know, man. I mean, Juliana, of course, will be adjusted to the southpaw, but what she really needs to adjust is her takedown defense. She has to have good takedown defense. Nunes even said in their double interview that she is going to wrestle. She is going to use her wrestling on Juliana Peña, and she can't wait. So I just hope Juliana Peña, with this year out that she's took off, with this time she's taken out of the game, I can only hope and pray that Juliana Peña will have actually worked a lot on defending takedowns. That is a big part of this fight, because I actually do think if Peña could have stopped the takedowns of Amanda Nunes in the rematch, I do think she would have won the fight. It's a hot take, but Nunes, I don't think, was going to win a striking match with Peña forever. Eventually, Peña was going to start turning up that pace. Nunes started losing her power as the fight went on. She started fading a little bit, getting hit more. I think Peña could have rallied, but that was a part of Amanda's strategy, was to, kind of mess Peña up on the feet early, wait till Peña gets desperate, capitalize on her recklessness, and then time takedowns. That was part of the strategy, and she executed that beautifully. But this time around, man, Juliana needs to be able to defend takedowns, because I believe if she can defend takedowns, it does up her chances, because she can beat Nunes on the feet. She can touch Nunes. But then it's not just that. She also has to work on not being reckless in this fight. She can't show up reckless, and she's got to be patient. She's got to time her aggression. When Nunes starts to fade, that's when you start pushing the pace that you do. You don't start pressing her when Nunes is fresh, because we've seen what happened. Look at Cyborg. She came right at her in like the first round, got dropped in the opening minute, and it was game over. Juliana Peña tried pushing the aggression in round 2, tried reliving, the moment in that first fight, and she paid for it. Chapter 1 sets the rules. Chapter 2 bends the rules. Chapter 3, all bets are off. Nunes versus Peña coming to pay-per-view near you. Yeah. Yep. Cal Quest. But Peña, she also can't come in this fight trying to be a striker and trying desperately to win a striking match with Nunes, because I believe that's part of what hurt her in that rematch, is that her ego got a hold of her. And when she was losing on the feet early and struggling with the southpaw stance, she didn't shoot for takedowns. She didn't go for takedowns. When she was trying to figure out the southpaw stance and she was struggling with that, she didn't go for takedowns. And I was like screaming at my TV, go for takedowns, wrestle. Like, the single leg was literally there all day long. against Amanda Nunes, and she didn't take it. And then in between the first and second, Rick Little was like, blitz your way in the clinch and try to hold her against the cage. And it's like, no, that's not what you need to do, because when she did get Nunes in the clinch, what happened? Nunes just reversed her, overpowered Peña, and escaped. What she needed to do and what she needs to do next time is go for takedowns, not necessarily just to get the takedowns, but, she needs to attempt them just to get Nunes to react, just to get her to think. Show her that the takedown threat is there, and then that can create openings for Juliana on the feet, and it could also play a part in potentially wearing Amanda Nunes down a little bit. And that's what I want to see from Peña going forward. She's got to do what got her to the dance and what she's good at. Someone's taken their love off trilogies one step too far. Nunes Peña 3 promotion. Yeah, but statistically speaking, when it comes to trilogies, the one who wins the second fight always wins the third fight. So that's kind of not a good look for Peña's chances going forward. If you're Team Peña and you see the stats, historically speaking, we know immediate rematches in title fights don't usually go well. I mean, it went well for Nunes, went well for Izzy last time out. But usually immediate rematches do not go well. So, yeah, it's an immediate rematch for Peña coming off this loss against Nunes. And in this series of 3 fights, Nunes is the one who won the second fight. So I don't know, man. I don't see Peña winning just because the element of surprise is gone. And Amanda Nunes is just the all-around better, more skillful fighter. She's a smarter fighter. It showed in that last fight. She's better at adjusting. And I don't know. I don't really see Peña changing a whole lot other than just being ready for the southpaw stance. And who knows? Maybe she'll have better takedown defense. Maybe she'll be more prepared for the takedowns. Or maybe the threat of the wrestling might actually make Peña more timid. And then that will allow Amanda Nunes to set the pace of the fight, and she can just comfortably pick Peña apart for 5 rounds, or maybe she'll find a knockout. But I do want Peña to win, just as long as there won't be a 4th fight, because, I'm sick of quadrilogies. Nunes will win. I had a dream she retired with both titles later on. Really? Okay. So did she retire after she beat Juliana Peña? Or did she retire after she beat someone else after beating Peña? Kale Quest. That's what I want to know. That's funny because Nunes did say that this isn't going to be her retirement fight. She said she can keep going. Oh, someone else. So probably Aldana. Because we know that's who's next after Aldana gets done with beating Raquel Pennington. Then she'll fight Amanda Nunes next. But I'm picking Aldana to win that fight with Amanda Nunes. I don't really care. I don't care what anyone says. So you saw her beat Aldana in your dream? Like you knew that was her, or you didn't see an opponent? You just knew that it was a different opponent other than Peña? I need details, bro. Because I'm a guy who has a lot of fight dreams as well. But one title looked faded a bit. Could be 50-50. I wonder what that means. I wonder what you mean by that. Yeah. Honestly, I just think Peña's I think her best chances to beat Nunes was the first time they fought. And fair play, she did it, and I'm glad she did. I'm glad she got it done. But again, I just think Nunes on her best night is just too good compared to Peña. And I just don't see her taking Peña lightly again and allowing something like that to happen to her again. I do actually think that this rematch or this trilogy, it might be a little bit more competitive than the second fight. but Nunes is not going to get overwhelmed like she did in the first fight. Any moments of success Juliana has, I just see Amanda keeping that composure, staying calm, and adjusting between rounds, and Peña not really doing the same in terms of adjustments. Nunes was holding both titles, but one looked faded than the other. 50-50 against Aldana. Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I could see Nunes Aldana being a 50-50 fight. It was an emotional moment, a lot of cheering and tears. Yeah, Nunes retiring on top is a very big possibility, though. It's a big possibility. I can see her winning this one. I think she'll beat Juliana. And then I think, I don't know, I'm not going to say she'll beat Aldana. I'm very Aldana biased, but I could definitely see her going on to beat Irene and then calling it a career, because what else is left for her? I mean, the Valentina trilogy is never going to happen now because Valentina is near her end and she lost to Alexa Grasso and is going to lose to her again. And even if she wins the rematch with Alexa, I still don't see her holding the belt much longer. And I feel like her losing, you know, kind of kills the hype for that. I think people know Amanda Nunes would dominate Alexa or would dominate Valentina if they ever fought again. So the Valentina trilogy isn't there. If she beats Aldana and Pena twice, she might as well call it. You know what I mean? And then I guess if Aldana does lose to Nunes, all hope isn't lost because I don't see Aldana retiring anytime soon or slowing down anytime soon, despite being the same age as Nunes. I feel like she's still got more years ahead of her and her best days are still ahead. So I think she's going to keep grinding and eventually she's going to get that belt one way or another. She'll have one title defense in 145, then 135, and call it a career. Yeah, big possibility. I could see her yeah, for sure. She will probably fight Norma Dumont or the winner of whoever Norma's fighting tonight. And then yeah. But man, 145 is beyond saving, eh? That division is beyond saving. Like there's no series of contenders, there's no established rankings. It's just Norma Dumont, Macy Chasson, and then some nobody that Norma's fighting tonight. And that tall, I'm not sure if she's Australian, but she's brown. She's a striker. She came from the Contender Series. Maybe I'm getting it wrong, but Norma Dumont fought her at like UFC 279. So yeah, there's her, but come on. That division, like once Nunes retires, I'm sorry, 145 is dead. And that does suck because there's a lot of WMMA fighters who cannot make 135. And if they can't sign to the UFC without the featherweight division. 145 is dead since Cyborg got beat, but it never had a 15 ranked division. And it could have, but I heard I think Cyborg did an interview saying that after the Ultimate Fighter, all the women from that series, they just left the UFC. They didn't sign because they were all afraid of Cyborg, which that's honestly really sad. That's sad. As much complaining as I did do about this trilogy because I want Aldana to have her shot, honestly, one part of me is semi-interested. Despite expecting Nunes to win, this rivalry is a wild card. It's MMA. Anything can happen. They're 1-1. I do think Juliana Pena in general is kind of a difficult style matchup for Nunes. And that's why Nunes had to really change up her style to win. You know what I mean? And I still kind of feel Juliana is capable of beating Amanda Nunes. I don't see it happening, but the possibility of her winning is it's not out of the realm. It could happen again, which is why I'm excited. I'm kind of excited to see what adjustments will Juliana Pena make. And is she going to make all those adjustments that I'm kind of recommending her to make, like throwing more kicks, going to the body, playing it a little bit patient, a bit more takedown attempts? There's a lot I want to see Pena do in this fight. especially those body shots I mentioned. She was headhunting Nunes a lot, but I feel like if she could have actually went downstairs and went to the body, that could have really played a part in Nunes slowing down. That could have actually helped her, but it's too bad. Rick Little doesn't like body shots, so Rick doesn't like body shots. He said, if you go down to body shots, then I quote, you are a pussy. So it's unfortunate that her coach doesn't like that stuff, because if he did, he could have advised her to use body shots, and she would have used body shots. And she was throwing some head kicks against Nunes as well. I would like to see her throw out more kicks. I know, like, technically she's not a good kicker, but it would be nice to throw them just to mix it up, just to give Nunes more to think about. Don't just let Nunes only worry about your hooks, or your overhands. Make her think about kicks as well. That'd be very smart. I'm excited for McMahon and Zingano in Bellator, and Carmouche is doing her thing at 125 as Ronda did fight the best. Yeah, man, that's true. That's true. Is Cyborg still in Bellator? Did she like leave Bellator or something? Like, she hasn't fought in a while, has she? Wonder what's going on with her. And of course, Cyborg and Kat, they've been like barking at each other, but why haven't they fought yet? Speaking of McMahon and Kat, that should honestly be like the next fight as a title eliminator. Whoever wins that, no more BS. One of them's got to fight Chris Cyborg. So, man, what if Peña wins though? I mean, having her as a champion is fun. Very marketable. She's got the looks. I feel like she'll be active as a champion as well. More interesting matchups. Whereas Nunes is champ, the excitement isn't really there. I mean, we got the Aldana fight. Aldana has a chance, but I mean, Peña versus Holm with Peña as a champion is interesting. Peña Ketlin, Peña Aldana. Maybe a Jermaine rematch when Jermaine returns. Whereas Nunes, because she's beaten everybody, with her being champion, it's just kind of not interesting anymore. Whereas with Peña being champion, she hasn't necessarily gone through the whole division, so that's what would make it more interesting. And that's why I wish Peña could have stayed the champion at UFC 277, and that's why I kind of hope she regains. But I pray that if she does win, there's no fourth fight, because I've already been through a milked out quadrilogy in men's flyweight. Figueiredo versus Moreno. That got mad boring, man. So I don't want to see Peña and Nunes fight 4 times in a row. If Peña beats Amanda Nunes twice, that's the end of the debate. Peña officially owns Amanda Nunes, and Nunes only won the second fight because she just had a perfect performance. But Peña is the better fighter if Peña does get the best of 3 in this 3-fight series. There's just no arguing, and there's no need for a third fight. Nunes just needs to go back to 145, or she just needs to retire. Nunes KOs Peña. Yeah, I can see it. She'll probably like win another decision against Juliana, but yeah, I can see it, man. Peña took a lot of damage in the last fight. And I know she's took time off, but that's gotta have taken years off her career. Her durability might not be the same, and I don't know if she can endure another 5 rounds of punishment from Nunes this time and survive. That's gonna be a tall task, man. Like, Nunes definitely might get her out of there this time. Very possible. But it would definitely be funny if Juliana won this fight. But more than likely, it is not going to happen. But again, it's a crazy sport. This rivalry is a wild card. Anything can happen. Peña surprises before. She can do it again. But like I said, statistically speaking, trilogies do not go well for the person who won the first fight and lost the second fight. That's just how it is. So It sucks. I mean, if you would have told me after Peña won the first fight that Nunes would go on to beat her twice, I would be very annoyed at the idea of that for sure. Like, I would have much rather Peña go 2-0 and then retire Nunes. But hey, that's life. We can't always get what we want. We can't always get nice things, right? Someone's taking their love of remakes one step far. Peña Nunes, no thanks. Oh well, no more force. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think I've said a lot of what I need to say about this trilogy. I'll circle back to this topic for sure, but there's the other bit of news. So Rose Namajunas, it is official that she did decline Xianon for UFC 288, which is very frustrating. I did watch WMMA Addict's video, and apparently Yan Xiaonan in an interview did say that she wanted to fight Rose. Her and her team tried to get that fight. The UFC offered it. Then they came back and told Xiaonan that Rose is going to be out a little while longer, which is funny. It's like, how much more time do you need, Rose? Like, come on. Honestly, and I like Rose, but she just needs to retire. She needs to go. Honestly, she needs to go. I'm a fan of her. I'm a fan of Rose, but like, she just seems mentally checked out at this point, and she doesn't have the love for fighting. So if she doesn't have the passion, what's the point? Why is she fighting? What is she doing this for? What's the purpose? You know what I mean? She's wasting all of our time. And it is unfortunate, man. I do feel for Yan Shonan. She deserved the opportunity to fight Rose. Rose even declined Marina. It's annoying that we haven't seen Rose since that fight with Carla Esparza. Like, what's her excuse? She took no damage in that fight. You know, when she took a year off after losing to Andrade, like, that made sense because she got knocked out. You know, she got slammed in her neck. And if I got slammed on my neck and damn near killed, I would take a year off from fighting as well. I would probably contemplate retirement as well. You know what I mean? But it made sense for that time. But with the Carla fight, yeah, she messed that one up. She blew it by underperforming and not having enough output. And yeah, she gave that one away, but it's not like she got hurt in that fight. So I don't understand. Like, why isn't she fighting? She could have already had a fight in November and then been lined up to fight Zhang Wei Li, like right now. You know what I mean? But she just doesn't want to fight anybody. And WMMA Addict said it best, man. Strawweight is no longer the hottest division right now. And Rose is part of the problem. And I've been saying that too. Like in my recent video ranting about WMMA, one of my issues is that Rose is MIA. She's on this big hiatus. She hasn't fought in a while. And Rose is one of the bigger names in that division. She's a star, you know, and Strawweight is missing out on that household name. And we got Zhang Wei Li, but then that's it. We got her, and then we got Jessica, but no one really wants to see that rematch. And Joanna was there, but now Joanna's retired, and no one else at Strawweight, let's face it, is really that good. So yeah, Strawweight's kind of lost at the moment. But the UFC just needs to hurry up and book Lemos versus Wei Li. Just stop playing. Make that fight. Give Suarez maybe the winner of Andrade Xiaonan. And then, yeah, let's just get this thing going. And Rose, I'm sorry, I love you, but you just need to go. Like, stop doing this to yourself, Rose. If you're listening to this video, Rose, I'm your biggest fan. I've been your biggest fan since 2017. I don't want you to retire, but I do think retirement is an option because you got one foot in and you got one foot out. And it does suck because it's like Rose seemed like in 2021, she was back. Rose was back until she wasn't. You know what I mean? Like, she was motivated again. Like, she took a year off after the Jessica fight, saw a mental coach, went back to Minnesota, you know, and she found her love again. She came back, she beat Jessica, she became passionate again, and then she fought for the title. And, you know, I was kind of questioning, does she really want to be a champion? You know, like there was a lot of people going into that first Wei Li fight saying, does she really want it? Why is she taking this fight? And then seeing how emotional she was when she became a two-time champion, seeing her cry, it just showed me this means to her. She wants to be on top. She wants to be a champion. You know what I mean? And then she was active between 2021, from 2020 to 2022. Rose was actively competing, and lack of activity is what a lot of fans were complaining about. And on my old channel, I even did a video saying Rose was going to be an active champion. And I was right. I was right about that. Rose was motivated, hungry, active, fighting every 6 months, won the belt back from Wei Li, defended it 6 months later, turned around 6 months later and fought Carla, and then lost to Carla, and then just disappeared off the face of the earth. Had that grappling match with Jillian, and yeah, that's it. And now apparently she needs more time. Like, what? Is Rose just going to wait till 2024 to fight again to come back? Like, come on. If that's the case, Rose is just done. Like, even if she does come back, she'll probably lose her next fight, because of her mindset, not because of her skill set. And Xianon wasn't capping when she did say that she believes Rose is the best in the division. That's why she wants that fight. WMMA Addict, who's been an avid Rose hater, doesn't believe that, but Rose definitely is the best talent-wise, skill-wise, in terms of being the most well-rounded, most complete. Rose definitely is the best in that regards, but not in terms of consistency. But if Rose had a better mentality, she'd be a dominant champion. Like, she would have multiple title defenses. She wouldn't have lost the belt the first time to begin with. From when she had the belt 6 years ago, she'd still have it right now without having ever lost it. And if she did so happen to lose it, she still would have got it back, and she'd still be champion right now. Like, 2 days from now is going to be the 2-year anniversary of when she won the title back from Wei Li. And I would have thought those 2 years ago that she'd still be champion in 2023, and she's not. And then I thought after she lost to Carla, you know what? She'll still get the belt back. She'll come back and be champ again in 2023, but she hasn't had a fight, and it's almost May, 1 year after she fought Carla. So I guess that's not going to happen now, which ultimately is very disappointing that we don't get to see Rose back. And I wanted this Zhang trilogy to happen. I wanted to see them go a third time, because that's like the biggest fight you can make in that division right now is Rose versus Wei Li 3. That's a fight that would get a lot of fans tuned in because both Rose and Zhang are big names, big stars. They have massive fan bases, big followings. So that would be huge, but Rose she's not on board. So it's truly unfortunate, the situation Rose is in. And I wish Rose well. I really do. Whaley versus Namajunas 3 would be dope. Of course it would. Of course. I would love to see them go again just for the sole purpose of them to settle it. I feel like it's not settled. Like, Rose is 2-0, but the first fight, I mean, she just caught Whaley, fair play, well set up. She caught her. The second fight, it was extremely close, and a lot of people thought Zhang won that fight. So I would love to see them go again just to see if Rose could prove to be Whaley's kryptonite and ultimate undoing, if she could beat her a third time and more convincingly, or will Wei Li prove those fluke and robbery comments correct? Will she come back and, not keep score but settle it? Like, will she come back and actually finally avenge the Rose loss? Like, that's what makes it so interesting. And seeing how Wei Li has looked since that second fight also makes the idea of a trilogy exciting, because Wei Li right now has beaten everybody except Rose. She's beaten every strawweight champion except Rose Namajunas. You know what I mean? And Rose has beaten every champion except Carla. So I would love to see that if Rose could go 3-0 over her, or if Zhang could get revenge. And honestly, I would favor Wei Li if they were to fight again. Just given the mindset Rose is in right now, and kind of given how much Weili's improved, and she's just mentally in a better headspace right now. So I think Weili can win. I think she can do it. I think she can beat Rose. But I mean, if Rose really puts her mind to it and is mentally in a good place and focused, then she can get it. Like, if Rose really wants it, she can be a 3-time strawweight champion. But only time will tell, though. But it sucks that Rose didn't take the Yan fight, because she would have won that fight handily. She would have beat Marina. She would have beaten Dern. Rose against anyone in the strawweight division is like a given win, unless you put her in there against Jessica, because they're 1-1, and Andrade almost got her in the third round, and then Weili because the second fight was close. But other than those two, oh yeah, and Tatiana, that's also kind of a bad matchup. Outside those three, Rose can dust up anyone at strawweight. Carla and Jessica are only strawweight champs that haven't fought each other. Yeah, but that fight's never going to happen now, because Carla's having a baby. She's not coming back till mid-2024. And, 2 years from, or a year from now, so much could change. And I don't even know if Carla's ever going to come back to begin with. Like, this time next year, she might be enjoying motherhood all too much, and she might never want to fight again. But if she does, Jessica is not going to be, that's not going to be someone that Carla's going to want to fight on her first fight back from maternity leave. That's not happening. Jessica is a horrible matchup for Esparza. And apparently Carla has declined Jessica before. I don't blame her. She knows she can't win that. So that fight probably ain't ever going to happen. But if it did, we know what happens in that fight. And man, it does suck for Jessica that she didn't get a title shot when Carla was champion, because if she did, she would have won. Like, when Carla, in that short 6 months she had the belt back, dude, she was one of the most beatable champions in the UFC, one of the most vulnerable champions. And on my first channel before it got taken down, on that first Nightmare Matchup series I had 4 Nightmare Matchups for Carla. And usually when I do my Nightmare Matchup videos, the maximum for me is 3. But because Carla was so vulnerable, so beatable, I had 4. Dern, Jessica, Weili, Rose, even. So, yeah. That'd be funny, though, if they did make that matchup. But I do feel like strawweight definitely is no longer the same. It's just Weili and everyone else, and Rose is off the radar, and then there's Andrade, but it kind of ain't been the same, since like 2019. Ever since Ioane and Jacek took the year off after the first Weili lost and retired after the second loss, and Rose just again went off the radar, it's just not been the same. Like, Zhang is carrying that division right now, and she's doing a great job at that. But I am glad that Tatiana is going back to strawweight, because she's 100% giving life back to that division without a shadow of a doubt. And I hope Tatiana Suarez can break through in the top 5 again, because if she does, I want her to get fast tracked right to a title shot, because right now, other than Rose, Tatiana is the only true interesting matchup for Zhang Weili at this point, because of her wrestling. She could beat Weili. I could see her just out wrestling Zhang Weili. Zhang cannot engage in wrestling with her like she did to Carla. That ain't gonna happen. Only way she's beating Suarez is through striking, but can she stop Tatiana's takedowns? I don't know, man. Rose is able to take her down and keep her down, so we shall see. But I do have Tatiana as a future champ. Sorry, I'm burping so much. I had the energy drink. All right. Now, there's been some other fight announcements. Yesterday, I mentioned that earlier in this video. So, it was announced that Oliveira versus Benil is back on for UFC 289. Can't wait for that. That's my dream matchup right there. And then yesterday, Whitaker versus Duplessis was announced, and it looked like Dricus du Plessis was going to get to leapfrog the whole top 5 and just fight Israel Adesanya, but I'm glad that shit ain't happening, bro. He does not deserve a title shot. I don't care what beef him and Izzy got. I've been saying the Reaper is deserving of a title shot. He's deserving to fight Israel Adesanya, but people are like, no, he's 0-2. He should fight du Plessis. It's like, nah, screw that. Robert Whittaker is the #1 contender in the middleweight division. He's gone through everybody. No one else is on his level but Israel Adesanya. The rematch was close. So it's like, given that factor, he should be next. It's like a no-brainer, but I'm glad that du Plessis does not get to jump the line, that he will fight Whittaker, and he will not succeed. I think Whittaker easily has that one because Dricus du Plessis, very sloppy on the feet, can't strike with Whittaker. Yeah, he's got power, but Whittaker's fought so many dudes with power and neutralized them before. And Robert is a great anti-grappler. He's not getting taken down by Dricus, and he tunes him up on the feet. Now, I honestly think like this is going to be Robert Whittaker's like first finish since the Jacare fight. I think he gets him out of there, makes a statement, and then we'll fight Israel Adesanya later this year. And then what else we got? We got Marvin Vettori versus Jared Cannonier happening June 17th. That's a tricky one to call because Jared can. A lot of people are favoring Marvin, and I can see why. But Marvin's style is very grappling heavy, and he can strike. He's a good boxer, but I think Jared's better than him on the feet. I think striking favors him. He's got a massive power advantage. And doesn't matter how durable Vettori is, him taking those big shots, like he'll still take damage the more he gets hit by Jared, and that's gonna make him fall behind on the scorecards. And Cannonier ultimately does great against grapplers because Jared Cannonier has great takedown defense. He's impossible to control on the ground. And Jared Cannonier, he's got that heavyweight strength, which makes him very hard to just manhandle on the ground. Very good at popping back up, and he's got that heavyweight power, and he's got like a great gas tank. Honestly, I think his cardio might even be better than Marvin Vettori's. So as of right now, I mean, I don't have an official prediction, but given how bad this style of matchup is for Marvin, I'm going to say that Cannonier does win this fight by decision. It'll be competitive, but I just see Jared Cannonier stuffing takedowns, chopping at the legs of Marvin Vettori. Marvin doesn't check leg kicks, and just outstriking him and landing the bigger and better shots. Like, he doesn't have to knock out Marvin Vettori to win. He doesn't need to. He can just win by decision. The way he beat Kelvin Gastelum. Just take down the fence and better stand up and doing more damage. I think that's how he's going to win if he does beat Marvin. I think the only way Marvin's going to win this fight is if he can actually successfully implement his grappling and keep down Jared. But I don't see that happening, man. The way you're going to beat Cannonier is you have to be a really good striker, an elusive striker like Israel Adesanya, like a Robert Whittaker, even like a pre-John Jones Dominic Reyes. That's the style that does give Jared problems, not a grappler. And Martin Vettori, his striking is too basic, easy to figure out. I mean, all he really has is like a 1-2. That's easy for Jared to go up against, really. And I mean, I know that he did good. I mean, Marvin did do good against a striker with good takedown defense and Paulo Costa. But Jared is not no Paulo Costa, and Costa was coming off the Israel Adesanya fight, mentally broken. The dude doesn't even take the sport seriously anymore. He didn't even make an effort to make weight, so that was like a crappy version of Paulo Costa that he got in that fight. So Jared's going to take this fight seriously. But, who knows? Maybe like a month from now, my prediction could change. Like, I'll definitely watch more of their fights just to get a better gauge of how it could go potentially. But I just feel like it does favor Cannonier, the style. And then as for another middleweight matchup that did get announced, Sean Strickland, he's fighting this Russian dude named Abbas. And it's headlining a card on July the 1st. I'm not really a fan of that, honestly. Let me see. Sean Strickland. Look at his shirt out right now. just so I can see the opponent, so I can spell out like his full name. He's fighting Abus Magomedov. He's like 25-4. One win in the UFC. Okay, and it was by TKO. Okay, actually, he's on a 3-fight win streak, so he won 2 fights before debuting in the UFC. I thought he lost 1 fight and then made his debut, so I got that wrong. But I gotta do my research on this dude. I mean, he's got like how many finishes? He's got like 21 finishes out of like 25 fights. I guess 6 submissions, 14 knockouts, but I don't know. I think Strickland will probably end up winning this fight, most likely by a decision. Strickland is very underrated, and he gets underrated because of the Alex Pereira loss, but Alex Pereira is just a really good striker, and he just got a stick of dynamite in his hands, and Strickland fought a dumb fight, but Strickland went out, well, he turned around, didn't, I don't want to say he fought a good fight against Jared. That was a crappy fight for both guys, but he surprised me in that fight because I expected Cannonier to chin him. He survived 5 rounds and made it close. It was a split decision against Cannonier. And then he dominated Nasruddin Imavov, who is like this up-and-coming prospect on a win streak with lots of momentum. And Strickland showed levels to Nasruddin Imavov. So I could see Strickland winning that one. But again, I got to do my research on this guy to really make a good prediction. Because I don't just want to casually assume that Jared's going to win. That wouldn't be fair. Or sorry, not Jared. That Strickland is going to win. And then there's another middleweight matchup I didn't really disclose. There's Jack Hermanson versus Brendan Allen. Main event on June 3rd. I don't really care about that fight. I mean, Brendan Allen is on a good streak right now, and he's pretty talented. That should be an interesting one. I'm not sure who's going to win that. And then there's another announcement that happened on Thursday. Bilal, remember the name, Muhammad, is fighting Gilbert Durinho Burns. Burns is doing a quick turnaround after fighting on the co-main of UFC 288, April 8th. He beat Masvidal. Now he's going to turn around May 6th, and he's going to fight Bilal in a 5-rounder too to save UFC 288. Because if you remember, it was supposed to have another good co-main, which was going to be Oliveira versus Beneil, but that one got delayed a month, so it just ended up being Gilbert Burns versus Bilal. And it's 5 rounds and on 3 weeks, 2 weeks notice. So that's not a lot of time to prepare for 5. But damn, Gilbert Burns, he's a G, man. Like being this active and taking a 5-rounder on short notice against Bilal. Bilal's got great cardio. And honestly, I think he's got a better tank than Gilbert Burns. And 5 rounds ultimately could even favor Bilal Muhammad to win this fight. But Burns did go 5 rounds comfortably with Tyron Woodley. So I don't want to say his cardio was bad, but Woodley didn't really push a pace in that fight. Like Bilal will push a pace. He's very active. He's not no timid Tyron Woodley. I mean, Burns slowed down against Usman because he dropped him and went crazy, then had an adrenaline dump and got hurt. So maybe I'm underestimating the cardio of Burns. I don't think his cardio is bad. Like he could go 5 rounds of Bilal, but it just ups Bilal Muhammad's chances. But I do think Gilbert Durinho should win this fight because, usually a lot of Bilal's opponents, they're afraid of his wrestling because Bilal Muhammad can mix it up. He can take you down. But Gilbert Burns is dangerous off his back. Like he's got a dangerous ground game. And I don't know if Bilal Muhammad wants to take that chance of going to the ground with him. And Burns has very good takedown defense as well. Like his takedown defense is very underrated. Hard guy to take down. Not a guy you want to deal with on the ground. And then on the feet, I think Gilbert Burns has an advantage against Bilal Muhammad. Got the power advantage. He's faster. And I just think he's going to have bigger moments with his power in this fight. Like, I do think, Bilal will have success landing on Gilbert, but I don't really see his shots having much of an effect on Burns. Yeah. How is he going to win this fight? Is he going to go out there and, use wrestling on Gilbert and out wrestle him like he did to Vicente Luque? Nope. I don't see that happening, man. I mean, the way he beat Luque, he was able to mix it up, outstrike Vicente. Vicente had low output because he was worried about the takedowns, but because Burns doesn't have to worry about takedowns, I think Burns is going to push a pace in this fight. You know, I think he's going to have more output than Vicente Luque did. I think he's going to chop at the legs. And I do think that like the grappling of Bilal, I think the grappling wrestling will cancel each other out because Bilal Muhammad, because of his wrestling background, he's very hard to take down. Like Sean Brady could not get him down. So Burns will probably struggle to get the fight to the ground if he tries, and vice versa. Bilal will have a hard time getting him down, and then does he really want to test his chances on the ground? So it's going to be a striking match, but I don't know. Bilal's defense isn't that good, and I can just see him getting clipped by Burns. Now, does Burns finish Bilal? I mean, Bilal's been knocked out before by Vicente Luque in the first fight, and he got dropped by Lyman Good. He got dropped a bunch of times by Jeff Neal. I'm going to say that Burns wins by decision. I mean, he could knock him out. Maybe he drops Bilal and subs him, but I'm going to say that he just drops. He wins this fight based off knockdowns. Like, Bilal might do good in certain rounds. Like, he might be even winning a round, and then boom, he gets cracked, gets put down, and then Burns steals the round. And then he gets dropped again in the next round. And Burns might even get 10-8 rounds based off knockdowns. I'm going to say that Gilbert wins this fight by decision through damage and knockdowns. And he probably wins the first 3 rounds convincingly, and then maybe he slows down a bit. Maybe Bilal picks up the pace, has some success a bit late, but is unable to turn it around to get like a finish. You know what I mean? So I'm going to say Gilbert Burns probably 49-46 or maybe 48-47. One part of me, though, kind of wants Bilal to win. Like, I kind of like him. I know he's hated by people. I actually like Bilal Muhammad, and he's on a roll right now. I would not mind Bilal winning, because if he wins, he's undeniably going to be next for a title shot at the winner of Edwards versus Covington. And he's worked so hard, to get to this position. He's on a long win streak dating back to 2019. Hasn't lost since he got beat by Jeff Neal. So it would be kind of sad to see him get that momentum ended by Burns. But then at the same time, I don't really want to see Burns lose either. I like both guys. I actually like both Gilbert Burns and Bilal Muhammad. I actually don't want to see either man lose, but ultimately I'm going to say Gilbert Burns just wins the fight. But I'm not going to count out Bilal. Bilal's a dog. I picked against him twice in a row, and it has not gone well. I picked Luque to beat him. Oh, and I picked Wonderboy to beat him as well. So that's 3 times I've been wrong. I picked him to lose to Wonderboy, to Luque, to Brady. He beat all 3, so he could prove me wrong again 100%. Like, Bilal is a very underrated fighter, but I just think this is where his momentum stops. And it's interesting because he was supposed to fight Shavkat Rakhmonov. That fight was in the works or rumored, but now that Bilal is going to be fighting Burns, I guess this means Rakhmonov is going to fight Kamaru Usman. And honestly, as much as I don't want that fight, because I feel it's kind of a bad matchup for Usman, and Usman is like my favorite in that division, and I don't want to see him lose 2 in a row. Unfortunately, there is no other fight for Shavkat. There is no other fight. I mean, look at the top 6 right now. So you got Shavkat at 6, Burns at 5, Bilal at 4, Khamzat at 3, but Chimaev is fighting at middleweight next. Colby is fighting for the belt. That just leaves one man. So I think Rakhmonov is going to fight the number 1 contender, Kamaru Usman. That's my prediction. And sadly, I think this might be the changing of the guard. I think Shavkat will actually beat Usman, become the number 1 contender, and fight the winner of whoever comes out of that 4-man tourney between Burns, Bilal, Colby, and Edwards. That's what I think. And I think Shavkat's going to get the belt. I mean, maybe the thing that does kind of give, Shavkat some issues is his lack of defense, and maybe Usman could capitalize on that. But he's going to improve. Like, Shavkat's going to address his lack of defense. He's going to fix his head movement. Shavkat is a sharper striker than Kamaru Usman. He's got wrestling himself, and he's a big guy. He's strong. Like, and Usman could not impose his wrestling on Leon in the third fight. So why would I think he can do that? Why would I think he could do any better with his wrestling against Shavkat? I think Shavkat can defend his takedowns, and he can pick Usman apart on the feet. And I think all of Shavkat's wins are finishes as well. So he might even finish Usman, which breaks my heart. Or he might just batter him to a decision, defend takedowns, outstrike him, chop at the legs, and just win by just having more moments where he hurts Usman. The only way I can see Usman winning is if he knocks Shavkat out, but I can't see him winning with his wrestling. And I don't know. I feel like Usman's pressure might be negated by Shavkat's footwork and countering ability. So again, it's going to be the changing of the guard, and Usman did show against Leon that he's kind of slowing down, man. I think Edwards sadly nerfed Usman. Like, the Usman we saw against Leon in the second fight, that was the last of prime Kamaru Usman, and I hate to say it. So because Burns Bilal is happening, Shavkat's going to fight Usman, and he's going to send him on his way. And I think Shavkat's going to be champion next year as well. Edwards versus Masvidal should have happened, especially because of what happened in BTS. Yeah, it should have, but it's never going to happen now because Masvidal is gone in the wind. He's retired, and he retired on a 3-fight losing streak. It's not like this guy retired on a win. If he retired on a win, he could easily come out of retirement and take this Leon fight, but it's too late. He had a chance to fight Leon December 2021, and he fumbled. He pulled out. And then Leon moved on to fight for the belt. So, yeah, no point. Never happening. Leon was going to win that fight anyway. Like, it does suck that they didn't ever fight because of the rivalry they did have, but let's be real. That fight didn't need to happen. So, I don't think it needed to happen, but it would have been cool if it did. But I'm looking forward to seeing Leon Edwards against Colby. That should be an interesting style of matchup. You know, this is going to be a seamless transition for Leon. 2 training camps for a dominant wrestler like Usman. Beat him twice, and now he's fighting Colby Covington, another really good wrestler who pushes a high pace. Gonna be a tough fight, but I could see Leon winning this fight, and I think his confidence right now is at an all-time high because he beat the former pound-for-pound number 1 guy twice. He beat Usman twice, who beat Colby twice. So he's got momentum and confidence and activity on his side, man. Colby Covington is not active, and he's not getting any younger. And Leon wants to fight at UFC 294 in Abu Dhabi. Oh, shoot, drop my phone. Leon wants to fight in Abu Dhabi. That's in October. That's like 6 months from now. And that will be almost like a year and a half to nearly 2 years since Colby last fought. I don't think we will see Peña Nunes 4 and 5. This fight is the end of their rivalry. If Nunes loses, she will be 1-2 against Juliana. So she will have to start from the back of the line. Yes, I agree, MMA Art. I totally agree. Like, if she loses, she either needs to A, retire, or B, she just needs to go back to featherweight and stick to crushing cans there. That needs to happen. She needs to pull a Figueiredo, although Figueiredo is not actually moving up. Remember when Figueiredo lost to Moreno and said that he was done with flyweight? That needs to be Nunes, but she needs to be done with bantamweight for real, for real. But yeah, I said earlier in this video, MMA Art, if Peña beats Nunes twice, that's the end of the debate. I mean, haters are still going to hate, and I feel like if Juliana Peña does win, I think people are still going to discredit Peña. They're gonna blame it more on Amanda being washed up as opposed to Peña just being a bad matchup and just being as good as she is. They're not going to give Peña credit. and they're gonna say, "Oh, women's bantamweight sucks because Nunes isn't champion, and Nunes lost to a bum twice." But honestly, women's bantamweight sucks when Nunes is champion because it's getting stale and stagnant the longer she's on top. With Peña as champion, like I said, the division is a lot more interesting because Juliana is yet to have gone through the whole division. She's a great fighter, but she's not unbeatable. So, as a champion, you would like other contenders' chances against her, and it makes the next women's bantamweight title fight more interesting. Like, if Peña's champ and you got Peña versus Holm, there's that suspense. Like, ooh, what could happen? I like Holly's chances. Could she get her belt back from Peña, or is it Peña's time? Maybe Irene could be champ off her, or not. Maybe Ketlin has a chance. Ooh, can Jermaine be champ now? You know what I mean? Whereas, like, with Amanda as the champion, it's like, oh, we've seen Nunes destroy Holly. We've seen her dominate Jermaine twice. She'll probably just beat Aldana. Like, it's boring. So, but yeah, I'm definitely Team Venezuelan Vixen. I know you guys think I'm like a switch up and I don't like Pena anymore. Trust me, I love Juliana Pena. I know I've said some harsh things about Pena. That's still my girl, man. I got that Venezuelan Vixen shirt. I'm a fan of her and I always will be. Okay? Let me just explain my complaints. Is okay, look, I am a realist, I'm unbiased, and I cannot always get behind my favorite fighters' every decisions. I'm not always going to agree with things my favorite fighters say. You know what I mean? And I just wanted Irene Aldana to get a title shot. I just wanted Irene to have her chance. That's all. So that's where I was irritated because you guys know I wanted Pena versus Aldana so badly. And I thought with Pena coming off the loss, that's a perfect time to make that matchup. And Juliana, because of her, that fight's not happening. And because of her, Aldana's not getting a title shot. And that's why I've said the things I did against Pena. But I'm still a fan of Pena. I don't want y'all to think I hate her now. Because I rewatched Pena Nunes too. And guess what? For a switch up like myself, that was hard to do. I couldn't even finish the fight. I stopped watching midway through round four. Like I was damn near about to cry. I could not finish that fight. I was discouraged watching that fight. So that shows you that I still got love for Pena because I don't like watching her lose. And another reason why I didn't want this third fight right away is because I wanted the chance for Juliana to get a more favorable, less risky matchup so she could win. All I wanted as a Pena fan was just to see her win more than anything. I don't want to suffer through her losing two in a row to Nunes. Like the thought of that dreads me. And that's where all my frustration comes from. So I hope you guys can understand. I'm still a Pena fan, and I hope she beats Nunes. I pray to God she gets the best of three. Will it happen? Probably not. But I'm just saying there's a reason why I've had my frustrations. Okay? Exactly. And Pena fights more often too. Nunes is a two division champ, but two inactive. Yep, that's another problem. Yeah, that's why I don't understand why people think Nunes being champ is better for the division. I just think it's because people don't respect Pena enough. They think she's so bad that her being champ gives the division a bad look. Nunes' last three are Pena, Dumont, Rosa, and Aldana. I personally like to see Nunes versus Jay Nunes. Come on, man. Amanda Nunes would smoke Josiane Nunes. I don't want to see that fight. I don't think Carol Rosa will ever make it to a Nunes fight. I mean, she lost to Sarah McMahon. Come on. You can't beat McMahon. You can't beat Amanda Nunes. There's levels to this shit. But I do think that she'll definitely see Aldana. Oh, and Kale Quest, by the way, since you did dream that Nunes retired on top and fought Aldana, did you have a dream that Aldana beat Raquel? And do you think Aldana will beat Raquel? Well, you probably already think so because you think Nunes will fight Aldana. So I just want your thoughts on that, Kale Quest. I know, but it would be funny to see Nunes knock Jay Nunes out. Jay Nunes gets hit a lot, and she's way slower than Amanda. I think Amanda Nunes will look dominant. Yeah, and also not just that, she's too small. Like Jay Nunes is too tiny for Amanda Nunes. She's like what 5'1" and fights at 145. Like that's easy. I don't even think Josiane Nunes will go far in any division. She won't go far in bantamweight. I think she loses to everyone ranked. I mean, let me look at these rankings of women's bantamweight right now. Josiane Nunes loses to Dumont. She beats Avila, beats Misha Tate. Mara Buena Silva, she probably could beat her. I don't really know what would happen in the Rosa fight. That's 50-50. I reckon Macy Chasson could probably beat her, honestly. Because Macy's got the range, the movement, and Macy can grapple. She can just mix it up and take Josiane down. And as far as I'm concerned, Nunes didn't even look that good in her last fight at UFC 283. So she probably beats Pani Kianza, Yana Santos, but it stops at the top 5. She would get obliterated by Irene Aldana because of Aldana's range, footwork, and boxing and power. I think Aldana would spark her. I think Ketlin's too big. Holly would pick her apart, dance around her, outstrike her. And Raquel Pennington, again, too big and has a boxing advantage. And Juliana Peña would just absolutely grind her out, maul her. And I already explained. I don't have to explain again. We know what Nunes would do to Josiane. She'd do bad things to her. She would pop Misha's titties. Of course. Of course she'd destroy Misha Tate. Misha Tate's done, man. I mean, what's Tate doing? Why is she still fighting? Like, she had that one big comeback against Marion Renault, and then she lost to Ketlin Vieira, got brutalized by Ketlin, and then moved to flyweight, got brutalized by Lauren Murphy, which is absolutely embarrassing because I picked Misha Tate to win that fight, and I was like very confident in Tate because I thought Misha Tate skill wise is better than Murphy. Murphy ain't that good of a fighter, and if you're not beating Lauren Murphy, you got to go. But luckily, I think Misha said her next fight will be her last, so I'm glad. But I just wish that Marion Renault fight was like a one-off return and not like. I wish she didn't come back for more fights because she showed that she's done. The division just kind of moved on past Misha Tate. The sport's evolved. Honestly, if Tate was ever to do well after the 2-fight losing streak in 2016, she should not have retired. That's just my opinion. I think taking the 5 years off was a mistake. I mean, she got the right opponent, but then after that, the division, the upper echelon just passed her by, you know? I think Mayra Bueno Silva is the big next thing at bantamweight. I think she beats Raquel, Holly, Ketlin, and is a threat to Juliana too, considering she's a striker and good jiu-jitsu specialist. Didn't she lose to Menon Fiorot though? Didn't she lose to Menon? I don't think she goes that far, to be honest. Let me see. Oh, hell nah. She'll probably beat Misha Tate, but nah. Nah, she ain't anything in this division, bro. And I don't think she'd beat Raquel Pennington. I'm not even a fan of Pennington, but I think Pennington wins that. I'm rooting for Misha because I want her to win, but I think Mayra wins rather dominantly. Yeah, unfortunately. I think Holm versus Tate 2 should be their last fights. I would like that too, but Misha has declined that rematch. She's avoided rematching Tate for so long. Misha has avoided rematching Holly for so long. Like Holly Holm wanted an immediate rematch with Misha Tate after losing to her. And honestly, you could have made a case for that immediate rematch happening because Holly was winning until the 5th round. And usually in circumstances like that, that's when a former champion, regardless of having title defenses or not, that's usually when an immediate rematch does get made. But Misha said, why would I fight her again? I don't owe her a rematch. She needs to work her way up. Okay, fair play. Tate wasn't wrong. Nunes was the next deserving contender, so she got the next shot. The division moved on. But then when she came out of retirement and Holly Holm called out Misha Tate said, no, I'm not fighting Holly. Misha Tate instead took the Ketlin Vieira fight, and then Holly just ended up being booked to fight Dumont, which ended up not happening. But it's clear that Misha wants no part of Holly again. I don't know if it's because she's scared. I don't want to blame it on her being scared, but she knows that she was losing that fight, the whole fight, and she knows that Holly has improved a lot since that fight, grappling, wrestling-wise. And she knows that, you know what, it's probably not a good matchup. I think she's just taking that win and just running with it and doesn't want to give Holly a chance to get that back. Yes, Misha knows in a 3-round fight she will lose 100%. Yeah, I think so. I think she would lose in a 3-rounder. And I think if they would have done that immediate rematch at UFC 200, honestly, I think Holly probably would have been champion again. I think Holly would have won. I don't think Tate was ever going to get a defense of that title. She just wasn't good enough. You know, she was losing that whole fight to Holly. And I think Holly would have learned from her mistake in that last fight and probably just won a decision. And Nunes probably just would have sat out and wait a little bit longer. Or who knows, maybe on the same card they could have actually made Nunes Peña, Nunes Cat, but I think timing worked out perfectly for Amanda to fight for the belt. I think so too, Art. Less time. That's true. She has less time to mount a comeback. Like cardio-wise, Holly Holm is good against Misha. It's not about her slowing down. It just gives more time for Misha to mount a comeback. But Holly really fumbled there. Like, she had a chance to take the Ronda Rousey rematch. Like, the UFC, they wanted to do Holm versus Rousey 2, but save it for UFC 200 because, you know, Rousey just got knocked out. She didn't want to turn around, like, you know, 4 months later. She wanted more time to physically, mentally recover from that loss. And the UFC's like, yo, let's have you and Ronda rematch on one of the biggest milestone cards possible, UFC 200. And Ronda Rousey was even willing to wait for that card. I think Ronda wanted to fight again at UFC 200, but Holly Holm was like, no, I want to be active. I want to keep fighting. I don't want to wait for Ronda. So she completely fumbled the bag there, fumbled what could have been a huge money fight and rematch and title defense. And she took a fight with Misha, and we saw what happened. She got choked out and never got a defense of the title. And had she just waited for Ronda Rousey, then Misha Tate would have probably ended up fighting Nunes next and lost, or Tate probably would have retired because Misha said back then, like, yo, if I don't get a title shot, I'm out of here. I'm retiring. So maybe Misha would have retired, and Holly would have just waited till July, and she would have beat Ronda again and still had a defense of the title, and then she wouldn't be known as this one-hit wonder, and she'd be known as the woman who beat Ronda Rousey twice. That could have been good for her legacy, quite honestly. And look, I understand that, like, Holly wanted to be an active champion, but come on, turning around just 8 months or 7 months, that's not that long. Like, a turnaround from November to July is actually a normal schedule. Like, it's not like the UFC said, hey, could you wait until next December to fight and defend your belt? The UFC said July 9th, and Holly couldn't wait. She chose to defend her belt against Misha on a quicker turnaround for less money than wait for Ronda and fight on a big card for a bigger paycheck. Like, she could have been on UFC 200 fighting a big name in Ronda Rousey and made a lot more money, and that would have been good for her career, man. And honestly, Holm versus Rousey 2 could have been a great headliner for UFC 200, especially with John Jones falling out. Like, when John Jones fell off that card, UFC 200 had Nunes versus Tate as a headliner. Now, that aged well because Nunes went on to be a big star herself, but back then, Nunes was relatively unknown. Tate herself wasn't that big of a name. Like UFC 200 was supposed to be a big card, but it just felt dry, and I felt it could have been great if we had Home Rousey 2 on that card. I mean, we did have Brock Lesnar versus Mark Hunt, but that ended up co-headlining. Misha shouldn't have been a problem for Holly. It was supposed to be a low risk. Yep, but ended up being a high risk, no reward. I think all the girls would have won against Misha, Kat, Ronda, Holly, Juliana, Amanda, but of course Amanda got it. UFC 200 was the best chance for Ronda to come back and take her belt back from Misha. Right? Well, that's what kind of confuses me a little bit. That's what kind of confuses me, because the UFC, it seemed like they wanted to hold off Rousey for UFC 200. And I just know for a fact, if Holly Holm won against Misha, she probably wasn't going to fight Nunes next. She probably would have fought Holly. Holly would have probably fought Ronda Rousey next, actually. But yeah, that actually is annoying. Like, what was Ronda thinking? Misha, who she beat twice, became a champion. Ronda should have been like, you know what? I'm taking that fight with Misha, and I'm going to take my belt back. And honestly, yeah, Ronda Rousey probably would have won again. I think so. And actually, Ronda and Misha were going to do a trilogy at UFC 193 in Australia. But then the UFC actually switched up and they shuffled the matchup and gave Holly a title shot instead. Because Misha, despite being the number one contender, she was 0-2 to Ronda. So that trilogy just was not appealing to them. They wanted to do something new. And I'm kind of glad they gave Holly a title shot instead, because it's like, I don't know. Ronda versus Tate 3 just didn't seem that exciting. And we got to see like a massive upset. Tate versus Ronda 3. Ronda would have definitely won that one. Yep, Ronda would have been a 2-time women's bantamweight champion. She would have saved her career, and then she would have lost the belt to Amanda, and then maybe retired after. I don't know. I think Ronda thought Misha beats Amanda, and she'll beat Misha. She even said in an interview, Amanda gasses out in 2 seconds, so she didn't think Amanda will be this good. Probably, honestly. Yeah. I mean, Ronda was inevitably going to come back, but yeah, she probably delayed her comeback because she just probably, I don't know, she probably underestimated Nunes up against Misha. That's probably what happened. But yeah, I even think Coach did a video on that. But Holly is one of the biggest fumblers in WMMA. That mistake will haunt her to her grave, honestly. Like, not waiting for Ronda, and again, taking a fight with Misha on a quick turnaround for less pay. That honestly hurt her career, because then she only had the belt for 4 months, became a one-hit wonder, and made less money. Whereas if she took the fight with Ronda, it would have been on a massive pay-per-view against a massive superstar, a chance for her to prove that wasn't a fluke. She would have had a title defense, because I think she would have beat Ronda again, and would have been an even bigger star and would have made even more money. So that sucks, man. I mean, I'm sure Holly has no regrets, really. But I know the fans have regrets for her. UFC 200 should have been Tate versus Rousey 3. Then 205 should have been Well, it wouldn't have been Home Rousey 2. You know why? Because Holly Holm went on to lose to Valentina Shevchenko. So Holly would not have been in a position to fight for the belt. It would have been, if Ronda would have fought Misha at UFC 200, she armbars Misha for a third time, and then she fights Amanda Nunes. Or, I don't know what would have happened. Would Amanda have been next? Like maybe Nunes would have waited out and waited for a title shot, or she would have stayed active. But if Nunes stayed active, would she have been able to keep her win streak? Probably. She probably would have been able to beat Kat in a rematch, maybe because Kat was washed. I don't know about Peña, maybe, but I'm going to assume that either Nunes would have waited or just won her next fight. So, yeah, she would have beat Tate, but then lost to Amanda Nunes after. I'm going to say that. Unless she got lucky with Nunes not getting a shot and maybe fought Valentina, she probably could have had a chance against Shevchenko because we know Valentina's vulnerability on the ground. Although, honestly, I think Valentina would have beat Ronda Rousey. I'm not going to lie. Ronda should have came back, beat Misha, and retire. It would have been nice to see Ronda come back and retire on a high note instead of coming back and get retired on a low note, getting knocked out in 48 seconds by Amanda. That was just sad. Like, I remember the hype I had for Rousey's return. When I saw Amanda Nunes clobber Misha Tate to become champion, instantly at the time I was a fan of Nunes, right? And I was a fan of Ronda. And I'm like, yo, I hope Ronda actually comes back in the midst of this chaos with this title passing around. We need Rousey back, and I want to see Rousey Nunes. Like I thought that was like the clash of the Titans. I thought Ronda had a chance, and I actually thought Ronda would win. I mean, I knew Nunes could win, and I wasn't going to be surprised if Nunes won. But that's what made it so exciting. And then it was so disappointing, like waiting months for that fight just for it to end in like 30 seconds. That was so sad, man. UFC 207 was such a sad night, bro. Because I actually wanted Ronda Rousey to win or at least put up a better fight. But no, she got dismantled in like the first 20 something seconds of the fight. Like the first punch that landed, it was done. It was a wrap. I still think Ronda armbars Valentina. You're probably right. She probably would armbar her, to be honest. Exactly, because Ronda loses to Holly and Amanda and Valentina every time. Well, that's interesting. Ronda versus Valentina at the time, who would have won? I mean, given the mind state that Rousey was at, Valentina probably would have won because Valentina back then was in her prime, at the top of her game, very well rounded, good everywhere. She probably would have lit Rousey up, but at the same time, Ronda could have also took Valentina down. And if she took Shevchenko down, it could have been trouble for Valentina. Like it could have been a bad night for Shevchenko. Maybe she could have been caught in an armbar. But honestly, all throughout Ronda's title run, I don't want to say it's like been luck based, like Ronda was a good fighter, but there were opponents that fought her that could have actually beat Ronda Rousey, but they just got overwhelmed early. I mean, Tate fought a very good. Actually, Carmouche was doing good, but then got armbarred. Misha Tate actually was putting up a pretty good fight, but the inevitable happened. McMahon was tagging Ronda Rousey with right hands, but then out of nowhere, Ronda just hurt her with knees to the body. And man, Ronda Rousey actually was underrated with her power. Like she was knocking girls out at one point in time, but she battered McMahon with knees to the body after getting tagged on the feet. But what would have happened if McMahon could have avoided those knees? Who knows? And then Alexis Davis. Wait, no, Alexis had no success. She got smoked. But then there's Kat Zingano. Kat Zingano could have won that fight against Ronda if she was patient and like didn't get overzealous. She could have potentially won, but she ran right in there through a jumping knee. Ronda scrambled and then instantly armbarred her. And it was so frustrating because it's like, man, if these girls could stop getting caught early, they could maybe win. They could maybe beat Ronda Rousey. But it's like these girls were defeated before the fight started. Not Kat, but Kat was dumb and overzealous. Betchko Hay was just too cocky, but Betchko Hay was lighting Ronda up as well. Betch was landing pretty good in that fight, but then Ronda caught her. She got the better end of the exchange, knocked her out, and then finally, the cat was out of the bag, and Ronda's luck ran out against Holly. She came in there, thought she was a boxer, and got lit up. But even in moments where Ronda did try to grapple, it didn't really work because Holly Holm has very good takedown defense. She's very strong. She had an answer for the clinch, which did force Ronda Rousey to strike in that fight. And then the Nunes fight happened. She tried to clinch her up, but Amanda Nunes had an answer for that clinch and just kept punching, just boxing Ronda's face in. And Ronda was walking into big, long bombs just to get on the inside, and she could not work that clinch, man. Nunes has very good clinch defense. Ronda, her grappling gives Kat trouble. Her grappling is too much. Ronda has a good chin. Valentina would have hurt her with a head kick, probably. Yes, I think Kat would have been the first to throw Ronda if she didn't charge at her. Kat was a beast. That's a possibility because Valentina is smaller, but look how Holly beat Ronda after one fight. Valentina dominated Holly. Yeah, that's right. And that was OP Valentina Shevchenko, not the Valentina of today. Ronda gave Betch a well-deserved beating. Oh, yeah, she did. Betch Correia was talking a lot of crap going in that fight. And didn't she disrespect Ronda's pops? Like, forgive me, I don't know if Ronda's dad is dead or not. Like, can someone tell me, like, isn't her dad dead? And like Betch made fun of that. I mean, maybe both her parents are alive, but I heard something about that. That Betch Correia made some personal dig. She took some low blow at Ronda in the lead up. So if that's the case, I'm glad she got slept. Ronda should have got good training partners for the Nunes fight. Yeah, I mean, she had Raquel Pennington, and I think she even gave Raquel hush money to not say anything. But she did train with Pennington leading up to that fight. But yeah, Raquel is not really a good dance partner, though. Raquel, I mean, before that fight, she never fought Nunes, but still, she's got losing experience when it comes to Nunes. So that's not a good partner to help you prepare for Amanda. But Ronda should have implemented wrestling in her style. I don't like how she just walked forward into the clinch to get the judo throw. Ronda Rousey should have used double legs, single legs. When she fought Nunes, I wish she would have level changed low instead of just reaching for Amanda's neck. That was the dumbest shit ever. I mean, Ronda probably wasn't going to take Amanda down anyway, but it's worth a shot. She could have went for a single leg, a double leg. I don't know. It's better that than walking forward and trying to get the tie plum to then lead to the judo throw. Yes, I hope she trained with better trainers like ATT and John Jones Gym and Cyborg's coach. That would have been really cool, man. It sucks that Ronda just checked out of the sport after the two losses, man. It's really sad. Ronda, if she really could put her mind to it, and if she left Edmund Tarverdian and sought a different camp and different people to work with and changed up her style, Ronda Rousey could have potentially had a good comeback, but she just failed to evolve. And she regressed when she thought she was a boxer and when she ran into good strikers who could answer her clinch, like Holly and like Amanda. She was rocked. Oh, yeah. No shit. She was rocked badly. Thoughts on Nunes versus Rousey too? Come on, bro. Don't do that to Ronda Rousey. That's mean. That's like Amanda catching a case twice, bro. Oh man, I don't even have to answer that, but we know. I'd actually be interested just to see how much longer or how much longer Rousey can last. I mean, she's not making it out of the first round against Amanda, I'll tell you that much, but maybe she can make it like more than 48 seconds. Yeah, Ronda was never a good wrestler. She needs to close the distance to take her opponents down, and Nunes rocked her. Yeah, Ronda could have really been a force if she actually implemented wrestling in her game. She really could have gone far, and that sucks. Her lack of wrestling is what did hurt her. Ronda at ATT would have been You mean perfect? I wish we had Ronda versus Peña at UFC 207 for the number one contender fight. That would have been dope. That would have been dope. I mean, I guess Nunes would have probably sat out and not fought for the rest of 2016, but that could have been cool, you know. Or maybe Valentina and Amanda could have rematched at UFC 207. That could have also happened as well. But because Ron is a big star, she's not co-headlining to Nunes, who at the time was not a big name. So, but I mean, Valentina and Amanda probably could have like rematched maybe at UFC 208 in February 2017, and then Peña versus Rousey could have maybe headlined UFC 207. Or actually, no, Cruz Garbrandt was on there. So, and you know what? Ronda Rousey has been a co-main event before, you know, I think she's co-headlined to Chris Weidman a bunch of times, and then there might have been someone else she co-headlined to. Actually, no, it's only been to Chris Weidman twice. But other than that, she's carried her own card. But maybe she would have co-headlined to Dominic, and it would have been nice to see her and Peña fight. And honestly, that definitely would have been a better fight for Ronda on her comeback. It could have been. And at the time, I mean, if you're getting armbarred by Valentina Shevchenko, I like Ronda's chances, and getting a win against a contender would have really boosted Ronda's confidence. And that was a fight that Juliana Peña wanted because there's some backstory there. Like on Tough, Peña and Rousey did not get along. You know, Ronda used to pick on Juliana Peña on Tough, and you know, Ronda even said to her, like, when the time comes, I'm gonna whoop your ass. Because I think Ronda was expecting Peña to work her way up to the title picture, but unfortunately, Juliana got the knee injury that put a delay in everything. And then by the time, you know, Peña got active again was the year that Holly or Ronda had her first loss and then went off the radar. So, I mean, if Peña never got the knee injury, she probably would have ended up making it to a title shot in 2014, 2015. But you know what? Everything worked out for the better for Juliana. Because maybe if she fought Juliana back then, if Prime Ronda fought Juliana earlier, who knows? Peña might have never been champion. Or maybe she would have lost her first attempt, won her second attempt against Nunes. But I think timing worked out for Peña, you know? She had time to improve, get better. Ronda retired. And then at just the right time, she fought Nunes and was improved enough to actually get it done, even though she couldn't do it twice. Oh, yes, the injury. I just realized the only title fight Peña has ever earned was a rematch against Nunes. Yeah, she didn't earn it, but let's see if she can make do with it. You know, let's see if she can go out there, come back from such a bad loss and beat. If she can come back from a year layoff and from getting 50-43, if she can do that and turn it around and beat Amanda immediately, I'm going to be impressed if she can do that. And again, I'll be very happy to see Juliana Peña become a two-time women's bantamweight champion. Like that would mean so much because after the emotions I've been through last year, you know, my birthday week, watching Peña get mauled, that was so heartbreaking and feeling hopeless. Like, damn, Nunes completely shut her out. She's not champion anymore. All hope is lost. Like, if you would have told me at midnight, July 31st, 2022, when I was drowning in my sorrows, pouting, moping in my room, sulking in my room, upset that Peña lost. If you would have told me from the future, hey, Carter, don't worry. 1 year later, Juliana Peña will get her belt back from Amanda Nunes and be a champion again. If you would have told me that, I would have been so happy, so joyful, and I would have believed you. I would have had a hard time believing it after how the rematch went, but I'd at least have some hope. So let's hope that's how it is going to be. No, not the trilogy. Her title defense. Oh, okay. You confused me there. I got confused. I see what you mean. So you're saying Juliana earned that title fight because she earned it through beating Nunes and then defending it against her in the rematch? Is that what you mean, Brian? She was the number one contender back in 2017, but Ronda took her title shot when she came back, and then Juliana was forced to fight Valentina Shevchenko and lost. Actually, that's wrong. So let me explain the rankings. So, of course, Misha loses the belt to Amanda, and whenever the champion loses the belt, they're automatically bumped from champ to number one contender. So Tate was the number one contender. And then when Valentina Shevchenko beat Holly, she was ranked number 2. Peña was ranked number 3. And then when Ronda Rousey was confirmed to come back, the UFC, they bumped Ronda to number 1. So for the remainder of 2016, the number one contender was Ronda Rousey. Peña was 3. Valentina was 2. And then when Ronda Rousey got whooped up by Amanda Nunes, the number one girl in that division was Valentina, not Juliana Peña. And Peña was not number 1 in 2017. She was top 2, top 3 late 2016, and then was in a title eliminator in early 2017. That's how it happened. But that loss, honestly, was probably like a blessing in disguise, though, for Juliana Peña, because, I mean, think about it. If she would have beat Valentina, she would have took the Nunes fight, and I don't know if she would have won or lost, but ultimately, there would be no Issa. You know what I'm talking about? Her daughter. You know what I mean? I feel like it's good that she had a chance to lose that fight. Take a time off and experience motherhood. You know what I mean? Before actually becoming a champion. She got to actually bring a daughter into this world and then have someone beautiful to share that moment of becoming a champion with. So I think honestly the universe kind of did Juliana a solid, and who knows if Juliana back then was even ready for Amanda Nunes. But no way Misha gets an immediate rematch. Valentina just lost to Nunes 1 fight ago, so she's not getting a title shot. Who was there? Okay, yeah, I see what you mean. I mean, of course, Tate wasn't getting a rematch. Penny was on a win streak. But the UFC was invested in Valentina Shevchenko more than they were Juliana Peña. So that's a big reason as to why the UFC made that title eliminator. I mean, actually, Amanda Nunes did say that if Ronda wasn't her next opponent, she will fight Juliana, no problem. So you know what? Actually, you're right. If it wasn't for Ronda, Juliana Peña 100% would have been next. But because Ronda Rousey came in the picture and came back, yes, that did lead to Juliana having to go through Valentina, but I do not believe that matchup was invalid, honestly, because think about it. Valentina is the number one contender, and if she could have beat Valentina at the time, that would have been a huge win for Juliana Peña, and then there would be no doubt she is the number one contender at that point, and no one can question whether she deserves a title shot or not. No one can say, oh, but you beat a washed up cat. They'd be like, you know what? You beat a prime Valentina Shevchenko. You derailed her hype. Now you're next. So I think that was good matchmaking on the UFC's part. That was unfortunate for Peña, the fact that she had to take one more because of Ronda, but I don't disagree with that matchup being made. I mean, I said since July 2016 when Juliana Peña did beat Kat and Valentina beat Holly, I said Peña versus Shevchenko is the fight to make because Nunes is likely going to fight Rousey. And both Valentina and Peña got to be active. You know, they got to pass the time. And who else was Val going to fight? And who else was Peña going to fight? You know, you can't just sit around and wait sometimes. Sometimes you got to be active, you know, and stay busy when the title shot isn't available, no matter how risky it may be. And I do think that if Juliana Peña declined Valentina again, I don't think she would have got a title shot because the UFC offered Valentina Shevchenko Juliana Peña at UFC 205 November 2016 on the pay-per-view. Juliana said no. And then the UFC offered it to her again, and I think they gave her an ultimatum. I think they said, you're going to beat our number one contender. Well, she wasn't number one before the Ronda fight, but still, they said, you're going to beat her, or you're going to fight her, or you're not getting a title shot. So that happens sometimes. They will reward the person who said yes and punish the person who said no. I mean, for Carla Esparza, it worked for Carla. Like when Carla turned down Mackenzie Dern in 2021, you know what? She did the right thing, and that was smart, and it worked in her favor. Even though Dana didn't like it, it actually did work out for Carla Esparza. But sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. She wasn't. Oh, but no way Misha gets okay. She wasn't number one ranked, yes, but she was next in line. Yeah, she actually was. You're right, because Nunes did say that Peña would be next. Nunes wanted the Peña fight after the Misha fight, but Ronda, she wanted the money fight with Ronda, and I mean, I can't blame Amanda. That's like a huge fight, a legacy fight, a money fight. If I was Amanda Nunes, I would have took the fight too. Like taking a fight with Ronda Rousey is the equivalent of taking a fight with Conor McGregor. Like who would say no to a fight with a big superstar like that? So it's like go make your money, cash out on a big fight like that. And given the circumstances, it made sense for Juliana to take one more fight. But if it wasn't for the Ronda fight, then yeah, I don't think Shevchenko Peña would have made sense at the time. Yes, I thought Juliana wins too. I said yes, that was a good matchup, but damn it. And it sucks because Peña was actually doing good in that fight. Peña was winning the fight, and then she just got too like overconfident on the ground. She even said herself, she thought, damn, all I gotta do is just take down this one-dimensional striker and it's game over. And she didn't respect the ground game of Valentina and got armbarred. But if she respected her ground game and knew going in that Valentina was good everywhere, I think she would have won the fight and then fought Nunes next. And it really does suck. Like that would have really changed history. Like Juliana could have actually had a win over both goats of women's MMA. She could have had a win over Valentina and a win over Amanda Nunes. That's actually crazy. That would have really added to her resume. That really sucks. And now she's like the laughing stock because, oh, she's the woman who got submitted by a striker, even though Shevchenko is really well-rounded. No way in the world was the UFC gonna give Peña a title shot over Ronda, period, end of discussion. Oh, I know, like, if Ronda Rousey wanted that title shot because of her privileges, she's getting that title shot. Like, that's a no-brainer. So, of course, she got it next. It made sense. However, if Ronda Rousey was like, you know what, I'm done, I don't want to fight again, then yeah, we would have seen Nunes versus Peña at UFC 207. But you know what? I wonder if Amanda Nunes would have pulled out if she had to fight anyone but Ronda that night. You know why? Because Amanda Nunes, do you remember she was wearing a nasal strip at UFC 207 in her walkout? Nunes was sick ahead of UFC 207. She was sick. I think she had a cold or something. Something was up with her sinuses. You know, maybe she had sinusitis, which is the reason she pulled out of the Valentina fight. But because she was fighting Ronda, that's a huge fight, a huge payday. No way Nunes is pulling out of that fight. And the way she fought Ronda, she looked like she was in a hurry to get that fight over with. And she knew that she could fight Ronda sick and that she could fight her that way because she knew stylistically Ronda was going to be an easy matchup for herself. She even said, I knew I'd easily beat Ronda, but what if she had to fight Peña December 30th, 2016? I reckon Nunes probably like, you know what, I'm not feeling good. I'm going to push the fight back. That probably was going to happen. And that's what did happen when she fought Valentina. I was so mad when she pulled out on the day of. Like, I was so hyped for Nunes versus Valentina 2, July 8th, 2017, UFC 213. And then 3 p.m. Eastern, Nunes pulls out. I was like, fuck, man. And I ended up just having to settle for Whitaker versus Romero as the main event. Although that was a good fight and it was a good main event, I was so hyped to see Nunes fight again. Back then, being one of her biggest fans, and back then knowing that her biggest challenge is Valentina, there was just so much hype, and my day was ruined. Sign of something. Yeah, I remember. So annoying. But yeah, Nunes is always known to just pull out for the weirdest and silliest of reasons. So given that, she probably would have pulled out of the Peña fight at UFC 207. And if she didn't, I don't think she would have just blitzed Peña out of there in the first 48 seconds. She would have been forced into a long night. And I don't know if back then she was ready for a long night against Peña. She would have needed to sub her in like the first or second round. Or I think back then she might have lost. And I even did that poll, like questioning, if Nunes and Peña fought in 2016, would it have been like their UFC 277 fight? Or would Nunes have finished her early? Or would it have been like UFC 269? I could see it being like how it was at 269. Ronda didn't look herself either. Nunes, same. Both were off. Nunes just got the win. Yeah, exactly. Like Nunes probably was sick going into that fight, but again, she just knew that style wise, she could beat Ronda on her worst night, and she was willing to show up on her worst night just to beat Ronda. And you know what? I remember Amanda's corner was even telling her, no, no, don't rush, reset. Like when Nunes was going off and going crazy, Amanda's corner didn't even want her to do that because Amanda's corner wanted her to conserve her energy and not risk gassing herself out. But Nunes is like, nah, I got this. I'm finishing her. And she's lucky. She's lucky that Holly or that Ronda was broken from the Holly fight and that Ronda was not durable enough to handle her punches. I mean, even though she was durable, she showed a good chin. She was out on her feet. So she was like dunzo. Ugh. Ronda literally told Herb Dean what's up when he stopped the fight. She wasn't there. Yeah, that was sad. And the way she was like walking forward afterwards, like, man, that was sad to watch, man. That was terrible. I was so overhyped for that matchup for nothing. I even remember before the fight started, I made an eek sound because I was so excited. And I remember my brother was looking at me like I was weird when I did that. And then Ronda just absolutely got messed up early. And what's funny about that too is like my mom was at Nova Scotia. She was on a vacation when that fight happened. And you know, my dad was there, my brother and sis was there, and we Skyped my mom and she was on Skype watching it with us. And the time zone where she was at was different. And she was up super late waiting for that fight just for it to end the way it did. And she was disappointed. They both had an outer body experience that night. Yeah, I agree. But Let's see what Juliana can do in this third fight, man. I'm Team Peña still. Don't get it twisted. I know I've said what I said about Peña. I still like Juliana Peña. Okay, I've not turned on her, and I never will. Okay. And here's hoping for the best that Aldana will get past Raquel, which I do think she will. I think she'll win that fight. She's improved more, so I think she'll get it done. Risky fight, but I think she'll win, and then all will work out in the end. And hopefully I get my wish. Like I wanted Pena Aldana in a title fight, and it would have happened if Juliana beat Nunes twice. But you know what? Maybe, just maybe, Juliana will beat Amanda and Aldana will beat Pennington. And then maybe we'll get Pena as the defending champion fighting Irene Aldana. That's like my dream scenario. And in that case, I love both. So, like, the outcome either way wouldn't bother me. I'd be happy to see Pena defend her belt against Aldana. And if she's going to lose the belt, I would only be accepting of her losing the title to Irene Aldana. So, I pray that it works out this way, but we'll see. All right, I've been on here for like nearly over an hour and 50 minutes. But I had fun on this live, y'all. I'll definitely go live again really soon, for sure. Maybe even later tonight if I have any time. But yeah, man. Thank y'all for joining me on this live. I got 4 viewers and it was empty at first, but I'm glad a lot of y'all came in and kept it going, kept it fun. And yeah, I'll see y'all later.